Hi there, my name is Kerry and I am on the admissions team at the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy. And today I have Janie with me. And interesting story, because Janie and I met about 2.5 years ago. And Janie called in for an admissions call to learn more about our program. And here we are. Probably, 2.5 years later, and she's a graduate of the program. And I've asked Janie to come talk to me because she's a nurse, and I get a lot of calls from nurses interested in health coaching. And some nurses want to switch careers altogether, and some nurses would like to use the coaching skills to enhance what they're already doing. And I can remember one thing about my conversation with you back then, Janie, and you said, it's like, I want to do something I am more passionate about. And I wrote that quote down. So first of all, I want to say thank you for meeting with me today. And so, let's start there. Tell me about like what you were doing before you became a student at FMCA.
Yeah. So I became a nurse in 2013. And right out of school, I went right into a level 1 trauma center and worked on the trauma unit for about 6 years. I didn't really realize how burned out I was until I left, and I went to something a little more lax. I went to post-surgery. So I was a PACU nurse, an outpatient center. So really a lot of healthy people. And then, I had bartended in the past, so I was doing a little bit of that here and there just because I missed the atmosphere and I missed talking to a lot of people, waking people up from anesthesia. They don't remember a lot, so.
So ultimately you made that call to me. So what brought you to functional medicine and or health coaching? Did you have maybe your own personal health journey or
You know,
how did you find us?
So during COVID, I had a couple part-time jobs. I was working part-time, bartending part-time at the hospital. And
Mm-hmm.
because of COVID, I found myself sitting in my apartment, not able to go anywhere without a job. So I kind of turned inward and I started meditating. I started doing some intermittent fasting. I listened to anything Mark Hyman would say and started really getting into functional medicine. And it really started to, kind of, move me. I found that all of my body image issues, were disappearing. And I was finding that if I respected my body and paid attention to what I put into it, and how I treated it, that I got the results I'd always wanted. And then a friend of mine who has had some mold issues knew a lot about functional medicine, and she suggested that I look into the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy because I really wanted to be able to make a bigger difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one of the nice things that did come out of the pandemic is that we did get that chance, the little bit of extra time to turn inward and focus on things that we didn't have time to before.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. So, how are you using your health coaching now, or how is your health coaching helping you make an impact on those in your community or your patients?
Originally I thought that I just wanted to completely switch gears and be a health coach, but I was really passionate about functional medicine. And after I graduated, I stayed in contact with a lot of people and I was kind of exploring my avenues. And then I saw a job pop up to work for a functional medicine doctor right around the corner from where I live.
Wow.
And so I applied for it. And I mentioned that I was a functional medicine health coach and that I was also a nurse. And when they called me for the interview, they had the position open for nursing because initially I didn't want to be a nurse anymore. But once I had this opportunity, I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to be able to do both? And suddenly I'm part of a collaborative team, and we have health coaches, and I can certainly help them in that area. But I also do the nursing part of it. So
Oh, that's wonderful. You kind of get the best of both worlds.
yeah.
So tell me about how some of the skills that you learned at FMCA could benefit your patients now.
A lot of the procedures that we do at the office, we spend a lot of time with the patients.
Hmm.
A lot of them are at the end of their rope. They've tried conventional medicine, they've tried Western medicine, and nothing has worked for them. So to be able to sit across from them during these procedures, they have their meal plans, they've had their health coaching sessions, but to be able to sit there and listen, have that
Hmm.
active listening and not just the teaching part as a nurse, but to be able to listen and to be able to steer them in the direction of them ending up with the results they want and them kind of coming to their own conclusions. It's been really helpful. I've been able to help out the health coaches in a lot of ways, and they've taught me a lot. It's kind of been we've taught each other a lot, and as part of that collaborative team, it's just been really nice. It's kind of everything they talked about in the program is being part of a collaborative team. If you're not going off on your own, that's exactly what I'm doing now.
Oh, wow. I love that. That's just a nice experience. Um, so let's go back a bit to when you were a student and what did you enjoy most about the program?
You know, initially I was pretty nervous just because, you kind of jump right into coaching. And then here I am across the screen from these people I've never met. But I mean, it wasn't long before. I mean, I formed these lifelong friendships and these connections. And I mean, I was just talking to one of my cohorts the other day. I mean, we all keep in touch. We all cheer each other on. And so the relationships that I made, I think, is my favorite part of the coaching. And also just the amount of resources out there, the information that I still have access to. I mean, we're trailblazers, and it's nice to be able to, as the new information comes in, be a part of that. So
Yeah, I'm going to jump around here a little bit because you hit on the fact that you still keep in touch with people in your cohort, myself as well. Tell me a little bit about that because we like to say like you're an FMC graduate for life, and like what does that mean to you? And tell me about your FMCA community.
So we actually ended up forming our own WhatsApp group because it's a good
Oh,
way
neat.
for us to all keep in touch. And as soon as people, we all will check in and say, "I have this interview," or "Hey, this is my new flyer. This is my new brochure. What do you think of this?" So we'll help each other do editing. We cheer each other on. There's been a lot of networking that's happened. I know that two of the girls from my cohort have actually kind of joined forces, and they're kind of doing something online together because one of them has a background as a nutritionist and the other one has a background as a healthcare provider. So there's just so many options.
Oh, that's so neat. I love that. And the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
That's great. So when you were thinking about joining FMCA, did you have any fears or any barriers to coming into the program?
So I think my biggest barrier had to do with, because I was a nurse, the coaching versus the teaching. I think was
Mm-hmm.
my biggest barrier. I would be doing the program in the evenings. I had an evening
Mm-hmm.
classes. And then during the day, I'm waking people up from anesthesia and I'm teaching the family about what they need to do once they're discharged. So I was very fearful and just really nervous about not being able to make those switches. But it turned out that it actually really helped me to do so. And I found myself doing not only teaching, but also a lot of coaching. Um, with patients, and I ended up making the follow-up calls at the surgery center and doing a lot of coaching. um, so that fear kind of melted away, and the other fear was just not really knowing what exactly we were all supposed to be doing with this coaching. But you figure it out together as you go along, and you really learn a lot from each other. And
Yeah.
by the end, I was, instead of being nervous about having to coach somebody in front of everybody, I was excited. So
Yeah.
I was
I always,
surprised and happy about that.
oh, that's lovely. I like to say sometimes, so just let the path unfold in front of you. It's okay to not know exactly what this is going to look like on the other side. And that's
Mhm.
a hard thing to let go of. We want to know exactly what things are going to be on the other side, but it is a process and self-discovery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, how did FMCA prepare you to be successful health coach slash nurse?
A lot of the tools that I learned, first of all, the character strengths. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still today, I remember, we would talk in our online community about, just using character strengths, picking them out, and just, instead of saying thank you to somebody, say thank you for your kindness. Pick those specific traits, and you really do see people kind of sit up straighter when you point one of those out. It's not just lip service; it's actually a specific thing, and we all have them. So that was something I really enjoyed and still enjoy. And also just positive emotion, focusing on what's right with the person instead of what's wrong. um,
Yeah.
and then also I have a tendency to speak really quickly, and I learned how to pause, because a lot of times if you stop, somebody has something more to say, you
Right.
know and
And it's a lot to get used to those, be comfortable with some silence, right?
it is, and I had never really worked virtually, so those were some of the things that I learned, they've really helped me out.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So if I had a nurse calling in and saying, Gosh, I'm, not sure about this. What advice would you give to a nurse that's thinking about embarking on this journey of becoming a functional medicine certified health coach?
If you want to help patients more than you can, more than you're able to, if you really want to kind of think outside the box and do things outside the box within your scope, this is the way to do it. You learn tools that, you're not doing anything that's outside of your scope, but you're doing more. You're going that extra mile, and it just becomes so natural. And you really make those connections a lot easier with people, and people just tend to let their guard down a lot more around me.
Oh,
And I think that as a nurse,
oh,
that's really important because they trust us. I mean,
they
we're on their
do.
side. There a lot of people, especially in functional medicine, they're so fed up with hearing the same things, and they want to be able to trust somebody. So for you to be able to have the skills from FMCA along with what you already have clinically, it's a world of difference.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. It is so neat for me to sit here and, have we've come full circle and to see you on the other side. It's a joy. And this is why I do what I do, because I love to see success stories like yours. And I do appreciate you sharing your journey with us today. Any last thing you want to share?
I would just say, I was able to, you were very helpful when I first started out. And I would, maybe talk to some people that have been in the program, you know? I mean, that's what I did. I talked to two different people, and I still talk to those people. They are still
Oh,
resources of mine.
that's
One
wonderful.
woman didn't have any healthcare background. She was an accountant, but that really helped her when she set up her own business for coaching. And
Yeah.
she has, I'm actually still a contact for her because she supports elderly people. And a lot of times she has questions, medical questions that she doesn't know the answers to. So, you really do find the most incredible resources that are so useful, and they just continue to produce more and more, opportunity.
Yep. It's all about that community. Well, thank you, Janie. I really appreciate this time, and it was so fun to circle back with you.
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to do it. It was great talking to you.